Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Okay, we're still talking about development. It's what we always talk about. Let's look at youth development and the part that what their responsibility is and the part that they are and possibly can still play. Our guest this morning is Engineer Ibrahim Adigun Olalekon, or let me put it, he's Engineer, if I were to just take two names, Engineer Ibrahim Adigun.
Thank you, Mr. Harry.
Good morning to you, sir. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
He's chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter. And just by way of explaining it further, this is the council was established in 1964, and it is charged with responsibility of policy formulation and implementation on issues relating to youth development in the country.
Yes, sir.
It is the umbrella body and indeed the mouthpiece for youths in Nigeria. Its supervisory body is the Ministry of Youth and Socials.
Yes, social development, absolutely.
Youth and Social Development. So you're very welcome,
Thank you, sir.
Chairman. In fact, you're hot, smoking hot, in the sense that you were elected last week.
Yes, sir.
To continue the work that has been going on. Now, you know, as I was saying, it was established in 1964.
Yes, sir.
And is charged with responsibility of policy formulation. Can you give me, how has it been doing in the past? Because not too many people will say that they actually have been aware of the presence of this body and then perhaps indeed the impact. Would you agree, or do you see it differently?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me this morning, Mr.
Very welcome.
I really appreciate. And first of all, the National Youth Council, as you've said, was founded in 1964. And the founding fathers of the National Youth Council, in their capacity, have coined the Youth Council activities to be the umbrella body and the statutory mouthpiece for youth and youth organs at all tiers of government as far as Nigeria is concerned. You also have Youth Council in other parts of the country. You have Youth Council in Singapore, in other parts of the world. But in Nigeria, talking about Nigeria, we have Youth Council structure spread from the national level to the local level. In fact, the Youth Council constitution that we have now has opportunities for us to have structure at the world level. Okay. So, but as we speak, we don't have any Youth Council structure that is existing at the world level, because the provision of the constitution has just been broadened to accommodate for world level. So at the national level, we have a national president. We also have, at the zonal level, we have zonal officers, the vice president at the zonal level. At the state level, we now have a state chairman. So I am the state chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria in Lagos State. And in Lagos State, for example, we also have local branches. Then we have voluntary organizations. So the Youth Council is composed of, at the state level, we have local branches and we have affiliated voluntary youth organizations. So those voluntary youth organizations, the components of the voluntary youth organizations are the community-based organizations. We call them the CBOs. We have the faith-based organizations like the Christian and Muslim bodies, Sion, Catholic youth organizations. We have Muslim students organization, Muslim Society of Nigeria, and so on and so forth. Then we have uniform-based organizations like the Scouts, the Girl Guide. We have the Boys Brigade. We have the YMCA. We have the Man War. All of these uniform-based organizations are also members of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. We also have voluntary organizations like, you can say they are called the NGOs that are affiliated with us, that have specific roles that they play within the scope. Like, for example, we have Young Farmers Association of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter. So they are affiliated members of the National Youth Organization. And the national, it will interest you to know that because of our area of focus, the National Youth Council is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that they engage and empower young people in their own capacity to support the government's intervention. In Lagos, for example, our focus in our own administration and in the past is to ensure that we also optimize our support for the Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu's Teams Plus agenda, which involves young people and gender equity.
And that's because you are of the Lagos State chapter.
Yes, sir.
Every state has its own chapter.
Yes, sir.
And in this way, everybody sort of works up to, the national body.
Yes, sir.
And ultimately, the supervision of the Ministry of Youth
and
Social Development. Now, formulating policy and seeing to its implementation, have there been any landmarks? Because I'm afraid, at least let me admit my own, shortcoming. I haven't heard very much in terms of initiatives and in this regard. And so maybe you can excuse that and sort of educate us on what indeed have been some milestones in terms of policy development.
Thank you so much. As I was saying at the time, the Youth Council organizes a lot of youth engagement activities. So we campaigned on a mantra of P3 agenda, which publicity is focused on that.
P3?
So P3 agenda.
Okay.
P, professionalism, productivity, and publicity.
Okay, when you say we campaigned, I was explaining that you've just been elected.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was your campaign?
Yes, this was my campaign. So, and one of the things I want to do is, fine, the Youth Council have been organizing events in the past, I've been organizing different policies, I've been initiating different projects, but some of those projects are not known to the common man on the streets. So one of the things I want to do is for the young people on the streets of Lagos, the common man, to understand and to see the activities. They should see it everywhere, on the streets and everywhere. So, for example, in the past administration, a lot of capacity development programs were held in the past. But of course, those programs were not put on the media for people to see. So, but for us, before, imagine as a council chairman in Lagos State, we have engaged in a lot of series of activities, which if you go to the social media now and just type National Youth Council of Nigeria, Odiolo Oju, a local branch, where I was coming from, you see series of activities. One of the activities is a community engagement.
Is a Mushi.
Is a Mushi, yes, sir. So one of the activity is a breakfast session. So, and that breakfast session, we also intend to reciprocate it at the state level. So, unlike what we used to know about the breakfast session, where you just see young people sit down, take buffet in the hall and just have nice time, and just talk and chat. So our idea of a breakfast session is to bring together young people on the streets. So what we did at our level was to take it to the streets. So we held the program on the streets of Lagos, on the streets where you have people passing by. And one of the testimonies that we've got from that is we've been able to use that program to rehabilitate a lot of young people. Take, for example, there was a particular day when we were talking and discussing about the menace of substance abuse. And we collaborated with the NDLEA Lagos State Command. And that program, we had a lot of NDLEA officials coming on the streets, engaging people. Mushi, a lot of people say Mushi is big on, substance abuse. So from Mushi, we took it upon ourselves to ensure that we do a lot of advocacy on that part. In fact, it will interest you to know, it was done under the bridge. The program was done under the bridge, and we have over 500 young people.
Under the bridge? Which bridge?
Around Ogumokun.
Oh, okay.
Ogumokun Olateju, the new bridge that is under construction. We held the program there, and we have a lot of officers. In fact, we gave out sewing machine. Because one of the people we rehabilitated on that day has issue with probably, he knows how to, he has this skill of sewing. And there is nothing for him to, to support him with. So we gave out a sewing machine, courtesy one of our public office holder in Mushin. So we intend to reciprocate some of these activities on the street of Lagos. So when a lot of young people, it is not only on election period that you see people come together, young people come together. So we believe that when we organize events like this, programs like this, it will touch the lives of common people. Another program that has always been done in the past that we also want to implement at the state level is capacity development program in terms of, upscaling our members and upscaling young people within our society.
Okay.
And we are
upscaling because you said that, look, in your tenure, professionalism is one of the 3 P's that you would be highlighting. Because that suggests to me that even, look, youth is is a very important segment, and it's quite a wide segment. But professionals, young professionals, you no doubt will want to see them also engaging, or you engaging with them. How does it go in that regard? Because as you know, the modern world is largely, led by the youths.
Yes, sir.
The new world, let me just put it like that way. The new world is largely led by the youth. How does that work out? Young professionals in IT, in the new world, you understand?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting the correct kind of interaction with them?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Like I said the other time, the Youth Council, we have a very rich membership. So we have, for you to be part of the Youth Council, you don't need to be a certified professor or certified engineer alone. So in the Youth Council, we have medical doctors, we have lawyers, we have accountants. In fact, our treasurer is an accountant. Our legal officer is also a legal practitioner.
Okay.
So we have all of these people as part of the Youth Council. They are members of this. So we harness our strengths to build on the activities and programs that we do.
There must be a lot of work that will interest a council such as yours, the Council of the National Council of Youth of Nigeria. And, the youths right now on the continent of Africa, take Kenya, for example. They started something. I think they're coming out of it now. They might still be in the middle of it. Let me talk about what is going on in Nigeria as well. We haven't seen anything formal, but perhaps you have also seen that the youth social media is being put to in regard of, and it's not for the first time, but you see all sorts of postings suggesting that the youth are about to be more restive. You see people, they are youths, these people are youths, and there are those who are saying, hang on, is this not how NSAS began? I don't know if you've heard things like that, and what your thoughts would be regarding this. Number one, is it a false alarm? Are these just mischievous people, gathering themselves together and making videos? Give me your overview there in view of the fact that you can't really discountenance what is said to be going on with the youth. Is this making a mountain out of a molehill or what?
First of all, we need to admit that, of course, the digital age that we have presently, one of the challenges that we have is the lack of control of what happens in the digital space, most especially on social media. And I believe, of course, the government needs to, buckle down on, controlling what happens in that space. Because in that space, you have a lot of vices happening.
That's right.
And for us as young people, in the Youth Council, what we do is that we try as much as possible to, unless we look at the positives in that space, to organize different activities to engage our youth. For example, we organize, digital skill acquisition programs, like how to become a certified digital marketer. So when you have events like that going on the social space and communicating events like that or projects like that to young people in a way they'll be able to resonate, that will resonate with them, with their mindset, I think it will go a long way. Other things is, publicizing and projecting different content in terms of some of the things that will affect the mental, capacity, that will uplift the mental capacity of young people.
Because so much so, really what you're saying, in line with what you're saying, these posters are usually anonymous people, not anybody you can grab hold of. However, the way people share things locally. So there's a matter of, I think you have your work cut out for you. There are those who perhaps are not necessarily the most patriotic and are taking hold of their right to speech, to expression, and are putting things on the place. I remember back in February, the police had reason to warn certain people to be very careful with what they were using their freedom to post, because they can't put themselves in a position of causing panic within the society. How do you think this can also be addressed? The fact that youth, maybe they aren't even youth, we don't know, but there's a lot of stuff, especially in recent times, trying to bring on the Kenyan example is what I would think is the ulterior motive behind any of that. But do you think it is a serious enough matter to address the concern, to attract the concern of the National Youth Council of Nigeria?
Of course.
Because it is youth that we see in this video.
Yes, of course.
They are all carrying posters, protesting economic hardships. And when you listen to the language, because you begin to wonder, hang on, what's going on here? Is this really something that evolved, or is this some sort of a setup?
So most of the things that we see on social media are stage managed, though we have a lot of them that happen organically.
Yes.
But varieties, a lot of it are stage managed. And of course, as I said initially, the government have to do a lot in controlling what happens on the social media. And part of what we are going to be pushing is we are going to be pushing for advocacy on the government to manage the contents that are on social media. I know a lot of people will come at us that, why are you doing this? Are you not young people? Fine, there are a lot of opportunities that are inherent on the social media that you can find on the social media. But of course, a lot of those alarms affect the mindset of young people, create panic within the society, and of course, create falsehood, and also reduce our patriotism as a people within the country. So as a youth, as a National Youth Council, what we do basically is to ensure that we continue to conscientize our people and to conscientize Lagosians and Nigerians on the need for them to be patriotic and to believe in the country Nigeria.
Indeed.
And of course, some of the opportunities that are inherent in the system of the Nigerian
state. This is not to say that there are not any difficulties. In fact, everybody knows that there are indeed difficulties.
So,
even the presidency itself, the president has said on more than one occasion that he understands the trauma that Nigerians are going through. So this is not as if to say, no, don't say anything like, no, that's not. But you see, the way things are being drummed up, if we're not careful, as I said, in February, the police had cause to warn people to be careful in expressing their rights, not put out, right now, for instance, depending on how your social media is fixed, if you're going to be receiving, you might be receiving things like, we had better stock up. We had better stock up on essentials, because something is likely going to happen. Now, these are not helpful at all, especially if they are not true. If these are stage managed and, it's all about perception.
of course.
And, reality is a different thing, but you push it, people begin to, and people don't even think it out. Once they see it on social media, they'll share it willy-nilly. They might not even believe it, but they'll share it. Before you know where we are, we have this situation on our hands where the public is being, I don't want to say, is being terrorized.
Of course, misled.
But that is not to say that there are
no challenges.
Challenges. And the youth are feeling these challenges. But whether the youth organically are, evolving into these groupings is another question altogether, because there always is mischief around the corner.
Of course.
So this is the big problem. And I guess the government is caught between a rock and a hard place, because at one time, they don't want to interfere in people's freedoms.
Of course.
But at the same time, you can't be making the job more difficult. And there are those who actually would wish on us what happened in Kenya.
Of course, in a lot of countries in the world, most of these social media apps are not allowed to operate in some of these countries. In fact, it's very big in the Asian part of the world, because they understood the challenges that comes with some of these social media apps, because you can't control who is who. You can't understand and identify someone who is making a post on TikTok, for example. In fact, on Twitter, is so alarming that a lot of young people and a lot of people, in fact, you cannot say young people, a lot of people anonymously create several accounts, and because there is no, protocol checking and controlling, a particular user creating several accounts, you have such accounts overflowing the social media. And I don't want to mention a lot of blogs, but when you see a lot of blogs, they come up with controversial news that creates panic.
And this is what the youth do, unfortunately. And I don't think it's a Nigerian thing particularly. It's around the world, but it is a concern. Maybe will the council, your council, will it be taking that up with law enforcement to see how, because the government has said it is committed to democracy, and it certainly won't be democratic for anybody for them to slam social media and lock it. So, but you see, the youths are those that use social media most.
Exactly.
And so there's a big responsibility there, because whereas there are all sorts of professionals, you said there are doctors, there are lawyers, there are scientists, everybody is in there. And there are also people who are nowhere near those people. You said you actually went in your area, you went on the street to go and engage with these youths.
Yes.
And it's surprising. A person might not be well lettered, but the expertise that this person has got on social media, they just go about it carelessly. And is there any thought that perhaps, first of all, do you have relations with law enforcement?
Of course we do. And for us, we want to dwell more on the positives on the social media. Because if you don't dwell more on the positives, we are going to be carried away with the negativity that happens on the social media. And one of the scope of our task and responsibility as a council is to ensure that we empower our members and the young people. And we believe that empowerment, youth empowerment, cut across different facets of life. We have leadership empowerment, we have financial empowerment, we have emotional empowerment, we have psychological empowerment, we have social empowerment. So all these forms of empowerment and mental empowerment. So we believe that all these forms of empowerment work hand in hand with each other. And we have to harness the digital space to, ensure that we, pass them across to young people on the streets of Lagos. Fine, a lot of young persons are not also on social media. One of the disadvantages of even going to the social media space is that we are going to disenfranchise a lot of young people that are supposed to be there. So what we are doing again is to ensure that we bring a lot of young people into the basket of, being on the digital space. Of course, controlling some of the things that they learn. Now, the Youth Council Constitution, according to the 2018 Constitution, Section 16, subsection 4, Article 3, talks about the National Development, the National Leadership Development Institute. So our administration is focused on ensuring that that institute comes to active life, because the Youth Council Constitution, as we speak, in fact, across all states, across all tiers of government in the Youth Council structure, we don't have any of the structure ensuring that this institute is active or vibrant or come to life. So one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that this institute comes to life, is active, because we have a lot of leaders and we have a lot of critical stakeholders within that space that will help us train young people to become leaders. And one of the things that this institute will do is to train young people within the social media space, within the social media space, to create leaders that will be well empowered in all of the forms of leadership or empowerment, youth empowerment that I've talked about. And I don't know, because one thing that is very important that a lot of young people used to say when you say empowerment, youth empowerment, is all about financial empowerment. And it is easy for you to give a young person 1 million naira if the person is not well equipped on the financial discipline to spend the money, the financial prudency to manage the money, the mentality to navigate him or herself how to make fortune with the money, the person will mismanage the funds. So we believe that it's a holistic approach for youth empowerment, and that is what we'll be focusing on. We have been focusing on that in the past at our local level and across board. As I've said, we have 57 local branches. We have 54 voluntary youth organizations, and they organize different activities within the social media space. What we just want to come and do is to amplify what they do. And how we achieve this is to be projecting the activities of all of these people. And believe you me, Mr. Reri, by the end of December, we'll be graduating our first cohort in the Lagos State National Youth Development Institute.
You know, as I said at the top, and you also said it, it was established in 1964.
Yes,
that is the Council of Nigerian, National Youth Council of Nigeria, established back in 1964.
Yes, sir.
So it shows that it's been quite a while since government has recognized the significance of the youths and have sought to give them a voice in a formal sort of way. Talk about what would be your assessment of the political engagement of the youths today? Because any way you slice it, cut it, the youths are in the majority. And this is a power that, just the sheer power of numbers, and it has to be very adroitly managed. What is your assessment, since your council is to be a voice for the youth? What is your assessment as to the quality of political engagement of the youth? Because it is a desirous thing, isn't it, for the youth to be engaged politically? Yes.
Before now, we used to have deficits in youth participation in politics and governance. So over the years, there have been a sequential change and improvement in that. And in Lagos State, for example, we can see a true reflection of that improvement in Lagos State. The Commissioner for Youth and Social Development is a young person. We have about 40% of young persons in government as we speak in Lagos State. At the federal government, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu have also done a lot to bring young persons on board. And it will interest you, you also see it amazing that the Honorable Commissioner for Youth at the federal level is a young lady. The Honorable Commissioner for Youth State Development is also a young man. So we have a lot of young people. For example, you see the Honorable the Honorable Minister in charge of technology is also a young person, and they are doing a lot. So what has happened with this present administration is they have brought forward youth engagement to governance, government patronage, and the country have benefited a lot from it, because our slogan in the Youth Council is build the youths, build the nation. So we believe that if government empowers young people, if the society empowers young people, of course it will lead to the development of that particular nation. And I believe, I'm very optimistic that we'll go from this.
Okay, because I'm going to take a break now, but I want you to expand a bit on government and what it can do to empower the youths, and your assessment of what has been done so far, if at all anything. But that will be after this break. So do stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll take your calls. We want to hear from the youth. We want to hear from anybody who is interested in the subject matter. You don't have to be a youth for that. That will be right after this break.
Good morning, Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are a long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyingo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call permanent solutions.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe is achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. Amadedoja Salamadini. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
At TVC.
Okay, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. If you just joined us, our guest is Engineer Ibrahim Adigun. Engineer Adigun is chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter, and we've been talking about the fact that it's a body that has been in existence for quite a while, since 1964, and its primary responsibility is policy formulation and implementation of issues concerning the youth. And what the most important issue that concerns the youth, I dare say in a specialized kind of concept, is development, national development. People often remember that, look, back in the day, our founding fathers, you go back to the Awolowos, you go back to Zikiwes and all of these people, were youths, relatively speaking. They were youths and they were at the forefront. So what happened? Today we have youths with a new expression, jackpying, meaning they're migrating, going up to different times. And that's because they feel that the situation is too tough, unemployment is rife, nobody's taking them on. Let me hear your perspective on this, especially what is causing our youth to leave the country, to Japa, to other, from Canada, to in fact, you won't believe where our youth have explored up to, not just the major places, some other, from Canada to the UK, and we're not being treated very well, but sometimes the pittance that they get, well, I didn't mean that in a derogatory sort of a way, but by the time all the expenses are paid, they don't really have very much. But they are saying still is much better than what would have been available here. Is the youth in this kind of an endless struggle? Can you blame the youths who are checking out?
Well, in as much as we don't want to blame the youth or the young people, we also need to agree that we have a lot of enormous challenges in our country. And of course, Nigeria is a developing nation. And of course, there is room for improvement. And we see those changes day after day. As we change different political officers, we see changes that happen. And we see new policies, new policy formulation. So there are those challenges. And these challenges are not only peculiar to the Nigerian state. So some of these challenges that happen in Nigeria, for example, are also peculiar to other states. It's like an economic hurricane that happens all over the world. So it happens everywhere. So, but one of the critical things that the government needs to invest heavily on is national orientation.
Okay.
I think the government needs to do more on, speaking the language that the young people understand, because if you look at the entire nation, we have over 65% to 70% or so of young persons dominating the entire nation. So it means that whatever orientation, national orientation exercise or activities that will be organized must target the young people especially. I think a lot of young persons do not have, belief in the Nigerian system. And this might have happened due to some of the things that have happened in the past, and probably because of national orientation activities have not really touched them one way or the other. So as a young person and as a youth advocate, what we usually advocate for in the Youth Council is orientation, reorientation of our members. And what we do is that we ensure that we organize different programs and activities, because if you want to tell someone, do not japa to, for example, a lot of people japa to Ghana, A lot of people even jackpot to Kenya. A lot of people jackpot to Uganda.
Yeah, right.
Just to the sense of patriotism is deteriorating every day. So we need to do.
It's coming from an economic need. They find that they think that there are not opportunities here for them. Although, as I said, because of the whole economic aspect, the whole currency situation, the exchange rate situation, you find that people are saying that whatever is left to me at the end of the day is much better than what I would have been getting here, and so are making these moves. That is how they are determining it. But it also needs to be said that youth are going abroad, and not all of them end up where they want to be.
Of course.
And are doing things that they would never consider doing here. I'm not advocating any particular profession, but just take, for example, I was looking at a program, and there was a person who was a quote-unquote big man as a youth here, and then abroad, he was seen by his associates doing work as a security man. And then they began to, how our people can be, say, this is what it has come to, this is what you left here for. And he shot back, say, what are you talking about? Are you sensible at all? What I'm getting here as a security man that you are deriding is much better than what your big men, I was there in Nigeria, were getting over there. So the whole thing has gone haywire. And these youths would not consider certain jobs here. Look at is it? I think they refer to it as healthcare, whatever, that kind of thing. Not too many youths would really be open to those ideas. The point I'm making is not that those jobs are here and they're not taking them up, but Nigerians seem to be picky in Nigeria, but go abroad, they're not picky, just to get hold of the remuneration that comes home, and then you multiply $1 or £1 sterling by whatever the exchange rate is, and you're looking like something of a big man. So there's this challenge, and I'm happy you spoke about the National Orientation Agency, but we've not heard very much from them, and I don't know if they could actually see anything to make our youth reconsider.
Of course. Another thing is the challenge of, our lack of the sense of patriotism.
Okay.
It's also very low, and we know that this is very challenging, and some of the things that amount to this,
but some ways you say patriotism. I'm hungry.
But the truth of the matter is that if you are hungry, we've seen cases of a lot of young persons travel through the deserts to get to Europe.
To great hardship.
That some of them even died while making the journey.
That's right.
Some of these challenges because of
both young men and
women. So this is a very serious challenge, and we believe, and one of the things I will always tell any young person is that in this country where we are developing, there are a lot of opportunities. I must tell you, there are a lot of opportunities. In the tech space, we have a lot of technological deficiencies in this country. And I will not agree with a lot of people saying that there are no opportunities in Nigeria. No, there are a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. I've seen a lot of young persons in their room making millions of naira by creating apps and putting them on the social media for people to use them. We've seen the cases of Flutterwave and different, accounting apps, Money Point and what have you. A lot of those apps, you see them on social media, and these apps are developed by young persons. These are some of the avenues for young people to also leverage and be patriotic, because if you do not look for what you can do to support your country, most of the country that young people are going to seek for, solace or to look for economic opportunities, those countries are driven by young persons.
Yeah.
They are driven by young persons.
They also have their own problems.
They also have their own problems.
They also have their own problems in there. And so much so, what you're saying is indeed true, because it needs to be said, there are people young people, when I say people who went as young people, have made something of their lives and have identified what you have just said, that there are opportunities here in Nigeria and are now making the return that, look, there are opportunities in Nigeria. Now, of course, it might be said that, but those ones have the capital to come, but they have spotted opportunities and indeed are making the return journey to go back home and go and invest. It goes to a very high level. Some medical doctors are thinking of in terms of coming to sort of give back. So it's not entirely a lost case.
Of course.
But it is challenging.
Of course.
Take the initiative of government for education. What's that thing? The sponsoring, where you can actually get help now for education, unlike before.
Okay.
That is one initiative that will probably bring a lot more Nigerian youths who might otherwise not have had the wherewithal to go to university, for instance, or even a technical school. But all of these are coming on board now. But you said rightly that not every Nigerian is going to go through the academic route.
Sure.
But there are some that would have if they could have. So in terms of government engaging, perhaps government has done something. Maybe they could do more.
Of course, yes. The government of Lagos State is doing a lot in terms of creating opportunities for young person. I'm aware of the Ministry of Civic Engagement. They are doing a lot, creating a lot of opportunities. You have agencies like LST, SF, doing a lot in creating grants and opportunities for young people who have business ideas, and they use grants from that ministry or from that part of the organs of government to also create empowerment opportunities for young person. And we also have a lot of Agric Years program that happens within Lagos State to empower young people in Agric. But for us in the Youth Council, to also support them. For example, on the 15th of this month, we are going to be also commemorating the World's Skills Day. So, we are going to be training a lot of young persons across our structures in Lagos State. So the advocacy started today. So, and our intention is that on the 15th, respectively and simultaneously across all the 57 structures in our local government and the 54 voluntary youth organizations, that our leadership at those structures organize a skill acquisition program, not only focusing on technology, also focusing on some of the things that will engage young people, those that do not have access to digital or smart gadgets. So we believe that when we do this also, we'll be able to contribute our quota to what the government is also bringing on board. And that will also help us to, to increase our level of optimism and patriotism in our dear state and, of course, our nation. And you cannot, of course, withdraw the commitment of government totally in terms of ensuring that young people are engaged. The government is doing their bit. The truth of the matter is the present resources that the government is controlling, if you are going to be frank with ourselves, cannot accommodate for everybody at a go. It cannot. That's just the truth of the matter. And private spirited individuals, private organizations must come on board to collaborate with the Youth Council, for example, as a corporate and non-partisan body. We also we focus on everybody. We don't only focus on a particular party. So we focus on the entire youth across all the structural levels. So the corporate organizations should partner with us. They should collaborate with us because we are directly connected to those young persons. Some of them do not have access to reach their local government chairman, for example. They come to the Youth Council. Some of them do not have access to reach their senator. They come to the Youth Council. Some of them do not have access to reach their governor. They come to the Youth Council. And of course, we are very open to collaborating with all private spirited individuals and organizations to ensure that we also support government to achieve, because we understand the challenge better. For example, any private organization who wants to do CSR, for example, can reach out to the Youth Council. Youth Council, what do you think we can do? Then we'll tell them these are the challenges in this area. So instead of going about, organizing a CSR or implementing a CSR that will not be impactful to the people within that locality. So we are very, very big in terms of empowerment and ensuring that we also support the Lagos State government in what they are doing in terms of engaging young person. The Lagos State government in all the Teams Plus aspect of life, in fact, a lot of apps that the government uses are locally made apps. They are locally developed apps by young persons within our states. This is promoting local content for, of course, for economic empowerment. And, when you do this, of course, the person employs, a lot of young persons too. The same thing continues like that. So we believe in our own sense that the only way we can achieve youth empowerment in a holistic manner is when the government, the private sector, and the youth council now, in particular, come together to implement a lot of activities.
That sort of makes me recall the ongoing situation with the national minimum wage.
Okay.
And let me just hear your thoughts on that, because it's quite a contentious subject. As you know, right now, between government and labor, they're so widely apart. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, I think I will not want to mention a particular wage standard now, but I would like to say that what the government needs to do and what the labor needs to advocate for more is for the government to create more industries, to empower people and to engage people. Because the resultant effect of the government increasing the minimum wage, and the realistic fact is that the resources that the government have in the kitty now will not be able to cater for that. It is not practically sustainable.
The government, the governors have said that.
Yes, it is practically not sustainable. So the labor needs to understand that what is important is for the people to be empowered. The cost of food, like what the Lagos State government did in terms of Onje. We also want to encourage other governors and other well-spirited individuals to also organize it. We see a lot of local government chairmen doing the same thing at their local government level in Lagos State. So if you have a lot of some of these measures to cushion the effects of the hardship on the Nigerian people, it will go a long way. But increasing the minimum wage is going to bring about increase in a lot of things. Increase in house rent, increase in transport fare, increase in food price. Everything is going to increase and it's going to go over the roof. And this is also going to fall back on the common masses, because a lot of some of the things that are consumed on the street of Lagos are majorly consumed by the common masses. Some of these things, the kerosene, are majorly consumed by the common masses. Hardly will you see any big man, so to speak, using kerosene, probably diesel or petrol. So these are some of the challenges. So our advocacy will be, or our advice will be, that the labor should push for a reasonable minimum wage that the government will be able to pay across board.
Okay.
And the minimum wage should not be statutory, should not be the same across board, because the money, the IGR made by Lagos State is different from the IGR made by Nasarawa State. So it should be different. And of course, the labor should also push for different revolutionary industrial, projects that will ensure that young people are gainfully, and of course, the Nigerian people are gainfully empowered.
You are the Lagos State chapter. I imagine that you must all, across the states, be keeping an eye on what is going on, around you. Would you say that across the country, from Nasarawa to Adamawa to Akwa Ibom, that we are getting a kind of a vigorous, vibrant engagement by these bodies of the youth in their domain?
Absolutely. The Youth Council across the Federation, we are doing fine. Of course, Lagos State will always be the pace setter. We always set the pace for every other state. We set the pace for, of course, for the national to see and emulate us, because the Youth Council started from here. So the template of the Youth Council started from here. And of course, they are doing a lot. And they are learning from Lagos. They are learning a lot of things from Lagos, and they are learning fast. And of course, you can, go to the website of the Youth Council and go to the social media of the Youth Council. Just type the National Youth Council of Nigeria. You see everything as far as the Youth Council is concerned in the Federation. And in fact, a few days ago, we had our national management meeting where we had all of the state officers across the Federation and state national headquarters of the youth organizations also present. So we also deliberate on way forward for this country. And one of the things that we pushed for and we're advocating for is that the government should optimize their commitment to youth development and youth empowerment.
Well, since I also said it's part of your mandate and the reason for establishment by government was so that the youth shall have a voice. Well, as we were talking about the uncoordinated voices going on social media, I wonder if, this is something that we'll begin to hear the perspective from the youth. After all, the government even has a ministry. The supervisory body is the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. So that aspect of your mandate, becoming a voice for the youth, do you think it can be helpful if we were to be hearing it from the youth through the different levels? Because we haven't heard enough of it.
Yes.
Just like the orientation agency that you spoke about earlier, we haven't really heard enough from them as well.
So, as I said earlier, we campaigned on the mantra of, one of the mantra is publicity. So, and that is why we are here today. And we are going to be doing a lot of this. We will be touring a lot of TV stations and a lot of radios to ensure that young people understand this assignment and what they need to know. So we are going to be pushing for a lot of things. We are going to be pushing for a lot of things. Involvement of young people at security engagements within the locality and at the state level. We are also going to be pushing for all of these things. And of course, on social media, we are going to ensure that we are very, very huge in terms of projecting positive content that will conscientize our people and, boost their level of optimism. And these are some of the things that we'll be doing in the Youth Council going forward. And I can assure you, you'll be hearing from us. And of course, we are open to, private, spirited individuals. We are open to TV stations for collaboration. We are looking for partners so that we can be allowed to lend our voices on critical issues that are happening within the Nigerian state. And we want to assure you that we will not disappoint you. For us to achieve all of these lovely ideas that we've said, there are a lot of serious and aggressive push that we are going to be deliberate and on some of the programs that we do. And we ensure that as we are engaging and doing those programs, in fact, before implementing them, we are going to be involving the mainstream media to be aware so that the common masses on the street of Lagos, some of those who cannot even relate with the TV, will relate with the radio. Some of who cannot relate with the radio will relate with the town crying, the one-on-one communication and conversation on the street of Lagos. So these are some of the things that we are going to be doing. And Mr. Aritu, we need your support to achieve all these things.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
We need everybody's support, and everybody should be ready to support our gallant Nigerian youths.
Thank you so much, sir.
Well, Engineer Ibrahim Adigun, Chair of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter, I want to thank you very much for coming along, talking to us about your body. It's a long-established body. It has a very important role to play. And I just wish you the best.
Thank you, sir.
Certainly we do on this program. We wish you the best going forward, you and your team. You're newly elected, you and your team. We just need for you to... How long is the term?
4 years tenure.
It's a 4-year term.
Renewable tenure.
Okay.
But you have to be a youth. You have to be between the age of 18 to 35 to be a member of the Youth Council.
So you heard it out there. So people, they are automatically members, but is there any format to do? They have to really apply formally?
Yes, for you to be a member of the council, as I've said, if you want to join us at the local level, what you need to do is to go to the Department of Agric and Rural Development at our local branches, at our local government level. And if you want to also join the voluntary organizations like the Scouts, like the Girl Guide, you can, of course, go through the Girl Guide structure. You can also be part. If you want to be through the faith-based organization, you can belong to, you can go to your churches, you can go to your mosques, and all of them are our members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Engineer Ibrahim.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We're gonna leave it there, and I'm sure we'll invite you back.
Thank you so much.
We'll be hearing about progress as it is made.
Yes, sir.
So that's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. You're watching ShopX TV, home to some of the most popular international brands in Africa, including Gotham Hammered Collection, Genie Bra, Bionic Floodlight, Spot X, Total Crunch Evolution, and more. And we are now proud